the home of the do-it-yourself trucker. When everything goes wrong, you gotta Redneckanize. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome back. Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize. Redneckanize Radio, all things trucking and then some. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. You can call in at 516-387-1733 and just listen along or be part of the conversation. Just hit one. And we're always appreciative to have everybody join us here tonight. And we appreciate everything everybody's doing out there. And don't forget to check out our website at redneckanize.com. We appreciate everybody's support and everything out there. Just to give everybody a little heads up, we are a small little 501 charity organization devoted to educating truck drivers and, of course, the regular general public about trucking industry in general. And what we try to do is to help the public drive or operate their vehicles better around big trucks. We got a few videos on YouTube explaining that, talking about following distance and, of course, space management, turning, stuff like that, to like talk to the four-wheelers about how trucks operate and what they should be looking for when they see trucks in that situation. And you can, like I say, you can check that out on our YouTube channel. We're really, really proud of that. So we dive in a couple of things going on this week. What I noticed, and the top of the story was another issue relating to driver shortage. Of course, this is talking about how there's gas pumps not being refilled, where there's a lot of gas pumps that are saying out of order. There's no gas available and all that, and they're devoting it to driver shortage. Now, there's a good little news article. It's out of the Denver 7 channel. I guess Channel 7 News is what it is. It's the local ABC channel there, and it's a pretty good little in-depth little article about what's going on, and a couple of things they don't mention, but a couple of things they do mention, and I was going to lay it all out here and see what you guys thought about it, and it's pretty good. So.
Travel and why gas prices are so painfully high right now.
First, our CB Cotton is exploring why Metro gas stations are running out of gas and what they're doing to try and get things back on track.
Giving people what they need is a big part of the job when you're working behind the counter.
Gonna be it for you?
But this week, there's one thing Nathaniel Mulhauser wishes he could get in front of.
Premium, unleaded, whatever octane percentage you need, we're out of it all.
On Friday, at this Circle K in Lakewood off of Kipling, pumps were bagged up and signs were posted, all a clear message: there's no gas here. And driver response?
See them pull up, they look at the pumps. Sometimes they'll drive away, other times they'll come in and ask to be sure.
Are you sure you're out?
And this is the first day that Mulhauser has had to deliver the bad news to customers. Last week,
we had 6 days where we only had diesel. We had no unleaded, we had no premium.
These bag pumps were also spotted in southeast Colorado, in Pueblo and Cannon City.
I've been told by my manager that this is all due to the fact that there are not enough truck drivers to deliver the gas to all the gas stations that need it. So,
And he's not wrong. Industry experts tell us a shortage of truck drivers has led to supply chain problems like this: no gas.
Well, the truck driver shortage has been going on for several years. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the baby boomer drivers that are out there in their late 60s and 70s,
he talks about a few cool things.
To get out of it, go into retirement.
Harold Trent directs the United States Truck Driving School. He says another contributing factor to the shortage, the COVID-19 pandemic. 2020 brought less travel, so the demand for gas went down, and many drivers were either laid off or left to other industries.
They've moved on to other positions where they're getting a little bit better pay, a little bit more home time, a little better benefits.
There's other
so
hurdles
you get
too.
paid
To
better
ship fuel, truck driver
not
candidates
hauling
have
gas.
to have a hazardous materials endorsement
Think
on
about
their
that.
license.
A lot of potential drivers are just not interested in hauling hazardous materials because of the danger and nature of the job.
Or just
some
doesn't pay
candidates
enough.
don't qualify.
And there's a lot of things that can knock a potential candidate out of the hazardous materials section of the CDL with regards to stuff that's on their criminal backgrounds.
But DU professor and supply chain expert Jack Buffington says there are some solutions.
There's different market segments that trucking companies need to appeal to. Women, minorities, because it's been very much of a male-dominated industry.
But finding more workers from different demographics will take some time.
The industry is continuing to try to market to get people from the military, to get people, from trade schools, from high school. But it's a difficult situation.
We've currently got 4 females in our classes right now, and we've seen an average of about, maybe 6 a month female applicants.
Meanwhile, Nathaniel Mulhauser is patiently waiting behind the counter to give people more of what they want: gas included.
It's sending people around everywhere. It's giving us a hard time.
CB Cotton, Denver 7.
Okay, yeah, that's it there. See, there we go. So yeah, a couple interesting points that were made on there. So I thought the guy that was directed the truck driving school, he had a few good points talking about getting. He mentioned it. He mentioned getting paid better, and I thought it was funny because it's like, so you could do a job where you get paid better than you would if you were hauling gasoline. So think about that. Gasoline is probably the most dangerous thing to haul, other than explosives and stuff like that. But you're talking about one of the most common things being hauled and potentially dangerous, and you got to know what you're doing. And it just doesn't pay. I mean, I don't know. To me, if I get paid pretty good doing what I do, and I still haul a few hazardous material, but it is technically dry van, and so if they were hiring somebody or they wanted me to go work like pulling tanker, and I wouldn't be making any more money, I don't know if I would do that. It's just not that good for me to do that. It's like, okay, I make this good money over here not hauling gasoline, and you want me to make just as much money or less hauling gasoline? I mean, like I said, there might be people out there to say it's not that dangerous or it's not the dangerous or whatever, but it's I don't know. There's so many potential problems because you are pressed for time, pushed to always make you're doing a lot of deliveries. So I see guys knocking it out. They do great work. I don't know how much money they make. I hope they get paid pretty good, but I don't know if I would do it. And I think that's a lot of things that you're talking about people not willing to do. I mean, let's just face it. There's a lot of people out there that probably would be good at truck driving, but they don't want to do it. They'd rather go, dig ditches or work in fast food because they don't want to be gone, or they don't want to have to go over the road, or they just don't like driving. And they want to make good money, but when you can get into a career that makes good money, they're just not willing to do it. I know truck drivers that have okay jobs. They could get better jobs if they're willing to relocate somewhere else, and they're not willing to do that. So they're it's like, okay, do whatever you want to do. So to me, one of the things that they really didn't touch on that much is the pay. I mean, if there really was a driver shortage, if you were having a hard time getting people to come to you to employment, that means that you're doing a high risk job that doesn't pay that much. It's kind of just like doing anything else, whether you're going to go drilling for oil, deep sea diving, welding, all that stuff. When there's a job to be done and nobody's willing to do it, you got to pay the money. And so if they're not out there paying the money, that means there's nobody coming. Talking about like the other issues they raised with COVID, I mean, there's always a driver shortage. I can understand that because the gas was not being used and other drivers switched. Well, again, that's what he said. They got out of it and they started doing something else where they got a better job. Either they got it where they realized it's more consistent doing this job over here, or it might not pay as much, but it's less stressful, or it pays better, bottom line. So things like that, because of COVID, it wasn't that the drivers quit driving. They just started doing something else. And then the one thing that they didn't point out, which they did kind of scam a little bit, but I always thought was a big deal, was just good drivers, reliable drivers. And being that you're hauling gasoline, first off, they talked about how you could get rejected about hauling hazmat material. If you were a truck driver and you said, okay, I'll haul gasoline, well, you can't get certified to haul hazmat because you've got some kind of background come back where you're not qualified. The FBI did a background check or whatever, or you just didn't pass the test. You're not qualified to haul hazmat. You couldn't get the certification done for your CDL. That comes back. But also, if you do get into something, whether in truck driving, I don't know about other jobs. If you're out there doing a different job other than truck driving, and this is common for what you do and what goes on in your industry, let me know, because what happens in truck driving is that if you're a truck driver and you go from job to job, or if you decide you're just suddenly just going to quit and not show up, they all remember that stuff. All these, especially these bigger carriers, especially these preferable carriers, the ones that are really, really hard on time and hard on, being, making delivery appointments on time and stuff like that. If you don't show up and, or if you just go to another job and not tell your other employer that you're leaving, what will happen is they won't hire you back. So when they talk about driver shortage, they're getting plenty of applications and they're getting people reapply. They're getting drivers saying, hey, I want to come back to work for you. they're not going to hire them. They're not going to hire them back. And they get these other applicants where they have a bad work history, or they've had accidents, or, you know, like I said, just work history where they're not reliable, not showing up on time. You know, I'll just tell you in general, at the carrier I work for, they had a lot of applicants, and 2 of them lied on their application, where the reason for leaving last job is they left, they didn't get fired. Well, they got fired because one of them is he had an accident and didn't report it or whatever, and the other one was that he was a jerk, you know, and they said, you know, we can't deal with you anymore, get out of here. And so when he reapplied for the other carrier, they were like, well, you know, why'd you leave? Oh, I left because, you know, you guys were hiring and I wanted a better job, and that wasn't the case. So because trucking companies, I guess it's better that they check up on this stuff, because, you know, if you're giving an individual, you know, $200,000 worth of equipment out there on the road, and you're letting them control that, and then you're giving them another $500,000 worth of freight, then you got to rely on them. They got to be reliable. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part, you know. So I think that's probably the bigger key is you got to pay better, way better, and the drivers have got to be more reliable if they're going to get hired. A lot of the candidates, you know, a trucker is kind of like a, you know, last of the cowboy jobs where, you know, you don't necessarily want to hire that sort of people, but really that's kind of sort of people you need. You need somebody that's okay with, you know, being out on the road away from home a long time, you know, and you got to hire somebody that's okay with, you know, not spending time with loved ones as much as they need to. You know, that's you got to be okay with that. And a lot of times people that are in that situation, you don't necessarily want them to be part of your fleet or whatever. And, you know, hey, you got to deal with it if that's the case. So, you know, it's one of those things where, if anybody ever worked for the bigger carriers, you know how when you go to the bigger carriers, not all of them, but most of them, they have a driver's lounge with the restrooms and the showers, and they got vending machines and a break room and all this kind of stuff, TV room and all that stuff like that. And there might be a dispatcher or something or a dispatch window, and it's funny, you go in there and it feels like that window is behind, like they're more protected than the teller at the bank. I mean, that's like behind a glass, you know, with a little speaker maybe sometimes, or not even that. There's just like a wall with a bunch of boxes and stuff. And if you want to talk to anybody, you got to pick up a phone. The guy's in the office on the other side of the wall, but you aren't going to see him, you know. So it's like those carriers, they separate themselves from the truckers because they just don't want to deal with people, especially with people that spend their life over the road. And, you know, you're as truck drivers out there, you know what I'm talking about. And so things like that. But I just thought that was a big deal. You know, like I said, it makes these regular news where, you know, like you said, industry experts, you know, and they call around. Well, they call like the ATA, you know, or they call like economists and stuff like that. You know, those people don't really know. They don't know. You know, driver shortage, and like you said, the baby boomers. Yeah, that's a little bit of it, but that's not the main thing. That's not the main thing. Main thing is that this job does not pay as much as it should. You're not used to. You could draw a lot of people to it because of the fact that you're able to make a lot of money. Nowadays, it's harder to make good money as a truck driver. You know, a lot of old school guys will tell you it's because of the e-logs and stuff like that. You know, a lot of the older school drivers will tell you that it's dealing with the customers of getting more and more pain in the butt. You know, things like that. So yeah, it's a hard job. And traffic is worse, you know, construction, you know, truck drivers always say that driving out there on the road, there's 2 seasons. There's winter and construction. So, you know, things like that. So, you know, that's I just thought that was interesting. And I thought that maybe people would like to get a kick out of just regular news reports talking about driver shortage. And yeah, they touch on a few things, but they don't really get it exactly right. And you know, bottom line is that drivers need to be paid a whole lot better for doing, especially hazardous material work, and then of course drivers need to be more reliable. If paid good, then you better be good, you know. So that's about it. So yeah, we're gonna keep on rocking and rolling here. 516-387-1733. This is Redneckanize Radio. Just call in and you can listen along or push 1, be part of the conversation. Don't forget to check us out at redneckanize.com. This is Redneckanize Radio. And we hope everybody's enjoying themselves and having a great evening.
Old Tad with a leather fist. Watch out when he starts to twist. What the daddies used to tell him, boy.